Hello and good day everyone, and welcome back to Adventure Sparker. Today we are back at North Pole theme park. Well, this isn't the actual park file we're going to be using, but I've been working on the blueprint for the park's centerpiece and main attraction, which is Santa's Super Sleigh. This is the roller coaster you see on screen now. We worked on this layout in my last video, and I mean, it looks awesome now that we have the snow here. It still needs a bit of terrain work, but that's not actually going to be the focus of this episode. We're actually going to be continuing work on that big building you see in the background there. That is Santa's workshop, which is basically an entire mini land within our North Pole park. I mean, yeah, part of it is going to be the queue and station for the roller coaster, but in addition to that, I plan to have a couple of other different attractions in there, including 2 Christmas-themed flat rides, and that is what we are going to be working on today, giving them a nice festive ride skin. And this is actually going to be my first time theming a flat ride in Planet Coaster 2, so I definitely learned a lot of new things along the way. But without any further ado, let's spark some adventure. Let the good times roll. So yes, welcome back to our builds for North Pole theme park. As I said in the intro, and I think I mentioned this in the last video as well, but I'm going to be theming 2 flat rides to put into the workshop area. And one of them is going to be a helter-skelter themed to a Christmas tree, and that's why I'm laying out all those plants there. I'm trying to see what kind of foliage would work to give out that Christmas tree look, because the actual in-game Christmas tree, as you can see, doesn't quite fit to the form of the helter-skelter. And what I'm doing here is I've found a lighthouse skin of a helter-skelter on the Frontier Workshop. So I placed it down and I kind of took it apart just so I can have an idea of how other people have skinned this kind of ride. Like how they've formed it and fitted their pieces on, to see if I can like pick up any tricks from that. And that's something I really recommend to any new creators, such as myself, is just download other people's projects, see what they do, see if you can pick up any tricks or ideas, and then see how you can apply them to your own creations and apply your own creativity and your own spin to them. So this is something I do all the time whenever I'm trying something new, or if there's some sort of challenge in the game that I find really daunting, I'll be like, okay, other people have solved this problem before, maybe I can learn something from them. And that is the joy of the workshop and having the Planet Coaster as a community just in general, is that you can learn from other players and connect with them and all of that good stuff. So I'm sure I already put the name of the creator on the screen, but I'm going to put it up one more time because I do appreciate their work and how it helped me out in my own build. But my idea here with the helter-skelter is I want to cover it with plants. Duh. It's a Christmas tree. I want to make it look like a tree. So I'm starting off with these hedges. So whereas the lighthouse that I just showed you used these wall panels to cover up the helter-skelter, I'm using, I mean, there's no plant wall piece, but the hedge is kind of like the closest thing to that shape. It's rectangular, it's boxy, and of course, I can rescale it and do all of that good stuff with it and manipulate it to fit all of the different panels that I need to. Because there's kind of this angled part at the bottom, and then when you get to the top platform, then the pieces go vertical. So for the most part, like when it's done, it does kind of have that uniform shape that does look like an actual Christmas tree. Really excited to show you how this ends up turning out. But for now, it was just a matter of just fitting these pieces to each panel, making sure it's very flush. So it doesn't look like a Christmas tree yet. It just looks like a mossy slide. Honestly, you could probably repurpose it to fit some sort of garden or nature-based build. But something that I decided to do here is that, unlike that lighthouse build that we saw, I wanted to preserve the windows that were built into the ride. So you can see they kind of have this pentagonal shape, and I didn't really want to be too exact with that at first. I do end up changing some things later, but for now, I just kind of created this arch piece attached with the flat hedge piece. So it just kind of covers up each window. Then I had some challenges here with the opening, because where the slide starts, it's actually wider than a singular panel. So I kind of just left both of those panels open and left it at that. So yeah, just started out with just basic shapes. And slowly you'll see that I'm going to add more detail over time. I also adjusted the colors here, which is kind of funny because in the end you really only see the railings and the slide itself. So I do play around with the colors at each stage depending on where my vision goes there. But yeah, from there I just added the actual Christmas tree for the very top. It is a different texture from the rest of the slide, so it does look a little funny, but you know what? It works, and it kind of helped. I don't know, I didn't really find any other way to make the hedges come to that nice sharp point, so using the actual Christmas tree, it also kind of just sells the vision. And then for the middle here, because the base of the tree kind of stuck into the ride area where it's visible, like that kind of like planter looking piece, I decided to connect that with this wooden pole. And then I'm like, hey, that kind of looks like the inside trunk of the tree, so why don't I extend that all the way down to the bottom? So not that many people, I don't think too many people are going to actually see the inside of the helter-skelter unless they're really poking around. But if they do, they'll see that I put a little extra detail in there. And I mean, even if no one sees it, I like it. I know it's there, and that just makes me happy. Then I'm continuing to do a little more work here, using more of those box hedges and working my way on that top roof piece. And again, like, I'm not too exact here. Like, I'm selling the idea, but I'm not going too crazy with the detail. Like, pieces are overlapping, some parts are sticking out, but when all is said and done, you don't even notice. Like, it looks fine. Like, I could have gone through and maybe got them closer to that curved shape of the roof, but I mean, then again, like, there's a limit to how far these pieces can scale down too, so sometimes it's better to just cover up those details and be a little more general and be a little more broad with what you do. It's okay, like, it's sometimes better to do what's easier with your pieces than to be too particular about them, because honestly, as long as the idea is conveyed, that's the most important part. Now, here's what I was talking about earlier with the shape of the windows there. I didn't like having the green plastic stick out there, or fiberglass, or whatever the slide is made out of. I wanted to cover that with the foliage as well. So I'm using the longer hedge pieces here and covering them. I'm putting them at angles so I can cover those pieces. And it works pretty well. And something that I'm doing for every step of this build is that I'm forming it to one panel, and then I'm just grabbing those pieces and rotating it around. And it's really easy using the snapping tool based on the number of panels that are on this ride. I found that, like, if I just snapped it to 30 degrees, I could perfectly hit each and every one. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. What else do I want to say about this? Yeah, it was very tedious. Honestly, it would have been better if I kind of knew what I was doing with each panel from the beginning, so I could do one panel with all the pieces and copy that around. But it was kind of like, I want arches, now I want another piece to cover the sides, now I want this. So each time one of those things came up, I had to recopy that around. But like I said, in the end, it turned out all right. And you just saw I added the star to the top of the tree there. So now I'm done, like, the skin of the ride, or like the main, like the foliage parts. And now it's time to get decorating. And I really didn't have any vision going into this. Like, I just started looking through the menu and I'm like, oh, this piece looks nice, maybe I can use that. And so yeah, the trimming of the tree was very, like, on the fly, haphazard, and yeah. But it kind of worked. So I have these bells on the top with these ribbons in between, so 4 bells and I guess 8 ribbon sections is what I ended up going with. But yeah, that part looks good. And of course, you can't have a Christmas tree without Christmas ornaments, so I knew I was going to use that on the bottom half of the slide, but I just kind of wanted that top piece to be a little bit different, just to kind of break it up, and yeah, just to have a bit of variety in the tree, so it wasn't all too uniform. Now here I was gonna put it back into its spot where it's gonna go, And I do center it and like figure out the exact position, but I do move it out of the workshop before finishing it because I realized I didn't want the walls obstructing my view. I didn't want shadows making it difficult to see the panels. That is one thing I find about building in this game, is that the lighting is gorgeous, but sometimes the shadows just get in my way and I can't really see what I'm doing, and it just makes building hard. And you'll see me sometimes in my builds playing around with the lighting when I look at my my blueprints from different angles, because I'm trying to find lighting in a time of day where I can maximize the amount of light that's hitting the actual blueprint. So then here we go. Now we actually get to the decorating part. And again, I kind of go through a few different phases. Like at first I'm like, maybe I'll do a ring of one type of ornament and then like do another kind underneath and then switch it going down each level. But I didn't quite like that. I did like this frosted bauble piece though. I thought that looked really nice. I just wasn't sure if that was the only piece I wanted to use. Then I tried this other piece, and yeah, like it was just a lot of trial and error and seeing what I liked and what I didn't like, and yeah, just seeing what stuck. I did like this pine cone looking ornament though. And I pretty much knew right from the start that it was something I wanted to incorporate in the build. I just wasn't sure where or how many. So I start with this ring. Like I thought I was going to ring it all the way around. Then I realized I ran into the slide right away. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just do the 3 panels on the back. So, you know, it gives a focal point for people who are looking at the blueprint from behind. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll shrink them down and copy them over to be around this top platform bit, because the platform doesn't go all the way around. It's kind of open on the one side, so it'll kind of carry on that motif, but it's only really visible to people who are up there. I do end up changing things around a little bit, so you'll see what I do later on in the episode. But then we're returning to these bubbles. And here, like, you're just going to see me try a bunch of different things. I kind of knew I wanted to have the scale of the bubbles going down as he went up the panels, because that way it would first of all make the tree look a little more balanced, because this is how I decorate a tree in real life, right? Like you put the larger bubbles towards the bottom of the tree and the itty bitty tiny ones towards the top. And it also kind of leaned into this idea of forced perspective, making the tree look taller because the things closer to the top of the tree are smaller. So those principles were, I mean, as you can see, they were there from the beginning, but then it was just a matter of how I wanted them arranged. So I start off in this very linear looking pattern, and I mean, it looked okay, but I didn't love it. Something about it just looked too manufactured. Like, you know, in a real tree, like, ornaments are kind of spread a little more randomly, like they're not in these neat, perfect little rows. Plus, if I kind of stuck to my patterns and stuck to the rules that I had in my head for how I was lining these things up, and those panels where the slide is coming through, well, I can't have a bobble there, because then things are going to intersect. Someone's gonna hit the bobble as they're sliding down. So once I got rid of those spots, then it just started looking wonky. Like it looked like it was too much on a grid. So then what I started doing is I started following the spiral of the slide itself. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking each bubble, I'm sliding it down so it's touching the slide, and then from there, once I move it to that new location, I can move it again, and it gives me a little number readout. So I'm moving it 0.50 meters above the slide. So then it's still following like a pretty uniform platform, a pretty uniform pattern, but now it's spiraling up in a natural way. Each bubble is kind of offset from one another, so it's not in these like perfectly manicured rows. It kind of gives that illusion of random placement, even though they are measured out and spaced out in where they're being positioned. So that kind of works out really well. And once I get to the top of the slide here, it makes copying over the platform, I don't know why I keep saying that. It makes copying the pattern for the other levels a lot easier. So that's what I'm doing here. See, I selected each one. I was able to slide it up a little bit so I could get that second level of bubbles. I didn't do it for below because I wanted to remeasure for that. Actually, sorry, I didn't even copy it over at all. I thought I did, but I'm actually using the snap distance tool. So I'm just raising it up 2 meters. And then here, like I said, I'm actually remeasuring for below the spiral. And that works until a certain point, because then I'm already, I've already got some bubbles in some places once you get high enough. Just from what I was doing earlier with the copying over. But yeah, all in all, like you can see, like it got rid of that weird linear look. Like that just didn't look right to me. But this, it looks a little more natural, a little more organic, and yet it's all planned out. It's all measured out, and I don't know, something about it it's just very pleasing. Like it turned out really nice. And then another thing that I do here is that to make it even more organic looking is I offset some, so then instead of having all the bubbles be in the center of the panels, some of them are sitting on the corners. Okay, from here I did a lot of work off camera, so now it's in its permanent spot. But some of the biggest changes that I made are that I added some Christmas lights, those fairy light pieces, so now it's all lit up and twinkling and all that good stuff. And I added a few of the gift pieces around it too, so it looks like you've got presents under the Christmas tree. And look at that, like it looks great. And I added in that scaling thing again, so the bulbs at the bottom are larger than the ones at the top. And I don't know about you, but I think it looks really, really nice. And it's gonna look even better once the rest of the factory floor is filled in. Now, of course, it won't be snowing inside the workshop once we put the roof on, but you get the idea. It's gonna look so cute and so festive. Very excited to have that be in the finished product. Now we're moving on to our second flat ride. This is I think the Synchronize is what the in-game name is, but it's a Zamperla Nebulas. So this ride, my concept for it is that I want it to be, I don't know, it's kind of abstract, I guess, but I kind of want it to be a machine within the workshop. The name for it is going to be the Merry Mixer. So it's kind of up to interpretation what the machine actually does, but I decided that I wanted to build it kind of in this alcove addition to the workshop. I couldn't really find a spot for it on the like within the current footprints of the building, so I'm like, you know what, let's just add on to it. But I wanted it to not be so boxy, so that's where this wooden background is coming in. So that's actually going to be like a faux interior. I don't know what the technical name for it is, but that's not going to be like the outer wall. Like the outer wall is going to be a little more square, at least I think it is. That's what I'm thinking of doing for now. But I wanted that rounded look behind it. Plus, like, it's a spinny ride. Like, it should have a rounded base anyways. I don't know why the game made it so square. I wish this was something that we could change, because there's also so much unnecessary space with these ride footprints. Like, I guess don't need all that space to walk. We can bring that in and make that so much tighter, but you know, I didn't design the game, so that didn't happen. But maybe that's something Frontier will consider adding in the future. But for now, yeah, so this is kind of what I mean. Like, I'm adding it on to the workshop. I took out that corner, and I'm just kind of putting this extension on. So yeah, it's square around the back there, and that's just to make the roofing easier, because curved roofs, not my specialty. Not yet anyways. Maybe one day I'll tackle something like that. But for now, I want to keep things nice and simple. Like, this is already a complicated build with how large the building is and with how many other pieces there are. So, you know, let's not make things more complicated than they need to be. And then you see me here struggling with how to configure the queue, because I didn't want the queue to be too large. I wanted to use the space efficiently, but I also wanted to make sure there was enough room to accommodate any guests who might want to ride, because I do anticipate that this kind of flat ride will be popular. So yeah, it was just a matter of making sure that I just met all of those needs. And so I played around with it. My biggest thing is that I had that like big piece in the middle there, so I wasn't really sure what to do with that. It's still empty as of this as of the time of this recording. So maybe I'll find something to fill it in with later. But anyways, what we have is good enough, and now I am working on actually theming the ride. And this is another perfect example of making it up as we go. Like I said, I knew I wanted it to be some sort of machine, but I didn't know what, and I didn't know how. So I just opened up the browser and just saw whatever pieces that spoke to me. And of course, because the Toybox DLC just came out recently, I wanted to try my hand at those pieces. Now, of course, in the future, once we actually get into the North Pole Park file, there is going to be a Toyland themed area of the park. So I didn't want to encroach on that idea too much. Like, I wanted to save most of those pieces for the actual Toyland. But I figured it can't hurt to use a few of them in here. After all, Santa's Workshop is all about making the toys, so why not? But here, I guess the idea that I wanted to do to kind of distinguish it and keep those ideas separate is that the toys in Santa's Workshop are going to be a little more classic in nature, a little more vintage, a little more rustic, whatever. Whereas once we get into the Toyland area, maybe they'll be a little more vibrant and a little more colorful, and they'll just have a different story to them. I don't exactly have the full vision yet, but when we get there, you'll see what I mean. And hopefully so will I. But anyways, what I did decide to do is use these block pieces. I really like the wooden textures on them, and a lot of them fit really well with this ride. Like that long part on the arms there's that curved piece. It fit perfectly on the end. Like, it was almost like it was made for it. Plus you have all these circular pieces to fill in all these little knobs and things that stick out. So yeah, it honestly just kind of fell into place for me. Like I said, this wasn't exactly planned. It was just me looking through the browser and looking through the pieces, seeing what worked, seeing what stuck out to me. And yeah, it just ended up working really well. The one thing that was interesting about building this is that normally, like, when you build these flat rides, you can turn on this twinning feature. So if you do work to one carriage, it'll copy over to all of them. If you do something on one arm, it'll do the same to all of them. Except here, not all the arms are treated the same. So the arms that are across from each other, those get twinned, but then you got to copy it over separately for the ones that are to the left or to the right of it. So I guess that opens up more options for creativity if you want to do like two different themes for the two sets of arms. But for someone like me, for this particular build, where I was like, I just want them all to be the same, it was just a lot of extra work and a lot of extra, like, it's not so much the copying, it's the making sure that they're aligned perfectly. Because, you know, like, I spent some time making sure that everything was in the right position and shifting it over pixel by pixel and being very meticulous with it. Whereas, you know, I get it right once, then I gotta do it all over again. And it would just be a lot easier if I had the option to do them all the same, or if I wanted them to be different, and I could turn that feature on and off. But yeah, I at this point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to make the entire thing wooden or not. I really like the look of the arms. And of course, I added some of the festive pieces there with the cookie in the middle. I thought that was a fun little touch. But I wasn't sure what I was going to do for the middle, because at this point, again, I'm still thinking in terms of the machine. So I'm like, okay, maybe I dress it up in metal, maybe I use some sci-fi pieces, but again, I just really like this wood aesthetic, so I kept going with it. But I love it so much. Like I said, I love the classicness of it, how timeless it looks, so it just ends up working really well. Now for the bottom part here, I did want to change up the texture a little bit, so I decided to try my hand at these new cardboard pieces. Now, the cardboard is actually part of the wall set for the Toybox Pack, but it worked just fine here. My only big challenge here was figuring out the base. I was going to use that circle piece, but then I just ended up using this big square piece. That was a big challenge for this build as a whole, because it's not like that lifting mechanism. It's not a square. It's actually this, well, it's kind of hexagonal, but it's elongated. So yeah, it was a little weird to fit pieces just because I expected it to be square. But then yeah, after that I wanted to add just a little more festive flair. Like I didn't want to go too hard into the toy box stuff. So then I added the peppermint wheels on the other side of the cookie knob. So one side's a cookie, one side's a peppermint. And then I add the string lights to the arms because I thought the arms were looking a little bare. Like I felt like they needed just a little more detail. And again, you can see me struggling with trying to copy it over and get it to twin properly, but we get it to work eventually. It's all fine. But yeah, for now I'm just starting with the fairy lights in the center of the or on the one side of the arms. I do eventually go back into the top and bottom, but it takes me a while to realize that that's what I wanted to do. In the meantime, I'm just continuing on with the lights here. I really wanted to use more. I had this idea to put them on the bottom there. At first I had them really spread out, but I don't really look right. Like they need to be lying flat in order for that vision to work. Because as they stand now, they're kind of sticking up. So you think guests need to step over them. And it was kind of weird. Didn't really make a lot of sense. I also tried putting this ring on the top here, and my original idea was just to copy over that ring shape that I had on the bottom, but it didn't scale down small enough, so I actually had to go for this other piece, and it didn't create a perfect circle. It ended up being this weird square shape, which is a little odd, but you know what, it worked. And you can see me testing it, and here's where I realized where I attached that ring of lights to the wrong spot. What? They weren't supposed to lift up like that. They were supposed to stay stuck on the floor. So I ended up moving them around to try to change up where they were attached, to make sure they weren't attached to any moving pieces. And that's where I kind of realized, nope, didn't like that ring. So I ended up copying the upper one that I made, which did lie flat. So that's kind of the look that I wanted, having them flat against the floor. And just moving them down to the bottom, a little closer to the base of the ride. It ended up working okay. Like, I didn't have that grand circle that I originally envisioned, but it worked. Next, I wanted to add a few more details. Like, as much as I liked the plain texture of the blocks, I felt like the ride as a whole needed a little more whimsy. So I added those lights to the top just to give it a little more detail, a little more flair, just something to break it up and give it some points of interest. And then I realized that I didn't want any of the original ride material showing. Originally, like, it was just going to be, maybe I just do the arms, maybe I just do the top part, and then I'd have just a little bit of the original ride still showing. But then I'm like, no, we're going to make it all wood. And that's what I did here. I was going to have that layer as a circle as well. Then I realized there'd be too much overhang, again with the weirdness of the shape. And I just made it a cube there. Excuse me, still getting over a cold here. And then yeah, just adding a little more festive flair with the holly wreaths. I love this piece so much. As we go along in this series, you're gonna see me using a lot of holly everywhere. It is just perfect. Like, if you need a little more detail, a little more trim on something, the holly is definitely the go-to piece there. Then once that's added, I keep on looking through the menu, try to find some other pieces. I ended up using this icing piece to add this little, like, I guess extra piece of decor or detail or whatever you want to call it to the top there. Again, just every little thing that I add just makes it look more and more complete, and it just makes everything look so nice. And then because I really like that icing piece that I had up top there, I decided to also add another kind of icing piece to the arms, just on the top and bottom. And yeah, it just all comes together. Now, parts of me think that parts of the ride are a little too busy, like, especially because I have the yo-yo on one side, and well, I haven't even added it yet, but you're gonna see in a bit, I'm gonna add a propeller to the other side, and then even, like, you know, I have the cookie on one side, the peppermint on the other. Like, maybe I should have stuck with one of those things. I don't know. But I kind of want your feedback on that, actually, because I am going for a whimsical, wild, almost put together look. But again, is it too much? Should I go for a little more balance? Oh, here's that propeller piece I was talking about. I really liked it because it, like, added that steampunk element that was missing. Again, going back to that idea of it being some sort of toy machine. But like I said, I had this yo-yo on the other side, and I am adding text to it here. I felt like it looked a little too plain. It needed a bit of writing on there. So yeah, just using the text pieces worked. But yeah, I don't know. Is it too much? Like, did I go too far? But I have no idea. I need your help. Let me know. But you know what? That's part of the fun, though, right? Like, you try things, you kind of realize they don't work out, or maybe you rethink things later after you've slept on it for a little bit. And then sometimes you're just not sure if you like it or not and need to outsource the opinions to the community. Anyways, back on track here. I'm just finishing off this design by adding a few more fairy lights. Like I said, I wanted a bit more detail on the tops and bottoms of the arms, not just on the front. So fairy lights were a nice, easy choice that made sense. And you know what, like these kind of rides normally have a really nice lighting package, so it makes sense that it'd be covered in these kind of lights. And there it is. That's our build of the Christmas tree slide and the Merry Mixer, our 2 flat rides located within Santa's workshop. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in and following along with this project. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more fun videos about creative gaming, including more Planet Coaster 2 stuff and more from North Pole Theme Park, then you definitely want to consider becoming a subscriber. You can also find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at AdventureSparkers. Still don't have anything else, but if you do want to see me on any other platforms, comment down below and I will consider making an account wherever the demand is. With that, thank you once again for watching, and until next time, have a good one. Bye!